Okay, we are recording. And if I can go ahead and make sure I have everybody. I see Keith Zusman from the town of Brighton. Good morning. Scott Bracken from the Cottonwood Heights City. Thank you. Jim Bradley from Salt Lake County Council. Thank you. Cindy Sharkey from Sandy City. Dan Gibbons, Vice Chair from Holiday City. Patrick Schaefer from Kearns Metro Township. Good morning. Robert Pignon from Immigration Canyon Metro.
Good morning.
Thank you. Phil Cardenas from White City Metro Township.
Hey, Pam.
Morning. Tom Disserant from Mill Creek City. Good morning. Eric Barney from Magna Metro Township.
Good morning.
And then I see Elizabeth, and I believe Elizabeth is here from the Wasatch Resource. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. And Lydia is also from Wasatch Resource Recovery.
Yep.
Okay, and then Jason Utgard is from Momentum Recycling. They're here mainly for when the food waste presentation comes up in our request. So, and then I don't know who's there present. Sherry Orrin, sorry. Sherry, you are here, board chair, in the room, live, in person. And then is there any other board members there in the room that I may not be able to see?
There is not.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. Okay, welcome to our board meeting. It's being held at the district offices located at 604 West, 69 South, inside the Salt Lake City. It's also being held electronically. You will notice that we've been having a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, and I'll have to explain it to you and letting you know that our very much respected and appreciated district clerk of 6.5 years, Anthony Adams, passed away last week. So we mourn his loss, and we send our sympathies and condolences to his family, and we just really appreciated all he did for us and the effective, efficient manner he always ran these meetings, and we will deeply miss him, not just for his professionalism, but for his personality. So we send our condolences to him and let the board know that's the situation that we're dealing with at the district here today. We'll go ahead and move on to our agenda. Item number 1 is welcome to new board member Robert Pignon from Immigration Metro Township and new Woodford staff Action HR manager, and McKenna Tapahi. And we'll turn it over to Pam.
Yes, so thank you. Are Ashley and McKenna there in the room?
McKenna's here. Is Ashley here? Yep, they're both here.
Okay, you may not be able to see them, but they are new to our organization. Last month we introduced Dustin Bradshaw, who was new. So Ashley and McKenna have joined us. Ashley is our HR manager. She comes from Mountain Crane, where she has 7 years of experience. She basically built their HR program systems from the ground up. Very thankful that she has joined our team. And she is tackling the challenges at hand, and I want to thank her publicly for that. And then we have McKenna, who has joined us, and she's there in the room. She has a master's in environmental studies. She has jumped right in, picked up on social media, posting education already, reaching out to our vendors, reaching out to our municipalities. She's doing a great job. You will see, if you are on our Facebook page or have liked us on Facebook, you will start seeing Instagram posts as well. So she's getting that going for us. I want to thank her for being with us, doing a great job. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Pam. Item number 2 is our consent items. 2.1 is the January 24, 2022 board meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the minutes or corrections? If not, I'll accept the motion.
I make a motion, we approve the January 24th, 2022 minutes.
And Jim Bradley seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Not all in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay. We'll move on to item number 3, which is the public comment period. We don't have anyone here in the room that to comment publicly. Do we know if there's anyone online to give public comment?
I'm not seeing anyone, Madam Chair, unless somebody speaks up. And then I did not receive any last week or over the weekend.
Okay, thank you. We'll close our public comment and move on to item number 4, business items. 4.1 is the proposed 2022 budget adjustments. And this over to Pam and Paul. It kind of combines the name of Paul.
So, Paul, I'll just kick it off briefly, just to remind the board that we brought this need before you last month, where we had to increase the amount that we needed to pay for the side load truck purchases. This is mainly related to the chassis. And so this is what the change is. And then, Paul, I will turn it over to you as far as the dollars and cents, sir.
Okay, and so when we look at this, the first little graph, well, the first section there, table, is the adopted budget that we adopted in November as far as capital expenditures go. And then down below that is the revised, and there was 2 areas of change. One is the first line, the 8 side load trucks increase. We're increasing that $63,656. And that's for that increase in steel that we get talked about last board meeting. And then also we ordered 2 light duty trucks in 2021 and they have not arrived. And so they're down at the bottom there, and that's just a carry forward amount from 2021. It's not an additional or new purchase. It's just carrying forward that purchase into 2022. And so the total adjustment amount is the $63,656 plus the $92,800. That's the increase in the capital expenditures budget.
Okay, awesome. That's the information that we're going to be holding the public hearing on next. And then during the public hearing, we can have board comments at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing at this point to allow comments on the 2022 budget adjustment. Can I need a motion to open this? Can I get a motion to open this public hearing?
This is Eric Barney from Magna. I motion that we open the public hearing in regard to the proposed 2022 budget adjustment.
This is Keith from Brighton.
Is there a
Second
second?
that.
Perfect. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is open. Do we have any comments, or have we received any comments?
Madam Chair, I did not receive any comments, and I don't see anybody online. If there's anyone online that would like to make a comment, please do so.
Okay, hearing and seeing none, there's no one here in the order that has comments. We'll move to the board to take any board comments. Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments on this particular budget adjustment? Okay, hearing none, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Move that we close the public hearing.
I second.
Sorry,
First one, Scott.
who gave their motion? Scott. Oh, Scott, okay, perfect. And who was the second?
Tom DeSirant from Mill Creek.
Thanks so much. Okay, the public hearing is now closed. We'll continue on to the. Oh, all right, yes, okay. So, I know. Yeah. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the business portion of this. 6.1 is to adopt the resolution for the budget adjustments, resolution 4410 and exhibit A, 2022 budget adjustment.
Madam Chair, this is
So do we have
Dan.
any questions?
Madam Chair, this is Dan Gibbons,
ahead.
Holiday City. I move that we adopt Resolution 4410 and Exhibit A of the 2022 budget adjustment.
Eric Barney from Magna, I would second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting the resolution?
Aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 6.2, refund request. Tom Roberts.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This request came from Dorothy Barber, and she notified us, thank you very much, that we had been charging her for the past while about, she changed her home into a business, and then she had Waste Management provide a front load container for her. And I don't know if we received notice or not, but she did notify us once she got the bill for the fourth quarter of last year that we've been charging her when really she hasn't been using our services. So this is something similar like I brought to you last month. In this particular case, we have refunded her the 2 years that's allowable under my authority. She's asking for the full refund. In this case, there wasn't a total of 4 years. This goes back to 2019. So basically, it's 2 years and 9 months for the full refund for $490. So I'm asking for an additional $90.97 approval from the board. Anyway, I think you understand. $82.97 actually is the amount I'm asking above my authority. I hope that makes sense.
Yep. Okay, so the approval would be for $82.97, which is the addition to what was already under town's authority. So do we have any discussion on this? If not, I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair, Dan Gibbons, I move that we give direction to the general manager to refund the additional amount of $82.97.
I'll second that, Jim Bradley.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay, that's approved. Move on to item number 6.3. Request to revise district policy 16.4, abatement or refund of charge service fees to allow the general manager authority to refund abate up to 4 years.
Yes. I'll kick it off if that's all right, Paul. So, as you know, I have the authority to refund or abate up to 2 years. Our district policy adopted by the board does allow up to 4 years, and that is what state statute will allow. Our current process is that our customer service accounts coordinator, Ken Simmons, receives requests for refunds or abatements for erroneous or incorrect charges. And then he works with the controller to verify if that information is correct, what their customer is requesting from them. And at that point, then it goes to Paul for review. And then a final recommendation comes to me. And like the policy says, I can abate up to 2 years, but if the customer is insisting on the full 4, then it has to come before you as the board. But I'm hoping with those checks and balances in place and understanding that I don't make that final decision without it going through at least 3 people before we refund or abate credit, basically, their account. So I'm asking to bring back I'm requesting your direction to bring back next month a revised policy, and I will work with Rachel if you feel comfortable giving me that direction and that authority.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on this, what Tom's requesting?
Scott Bracken from Cottonwood Heights. In the policy, is it final? Is the approval required just a final from just the executive director, Pam? Or I guess the question I'm asking is, would it maybe make sense to add a second person on there, the controller or someone also on staff? So that you're not just having one person that's authorized to do it. It requires like 2 signatures. Does that make that might be a possible way to look at that approval so that it or to I guess it's not codify, but solidify the policy just a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, we can put that into the policy. Rachel can help me to make sure we put the checks and balances in there that label it. And then on the actual request that comes to me, because it is a formal request written by Ken, signed off by him and Craig. But then I think it makes sense that once I approve it, that Paul also approves it. Is that what you're? Or
Yeah,
maybe
just something like that. Just, I mean, going forward as personnel change, I think that would probably just make it.
Pam, this is Eric from Magna. How often do we experience this situation where we're seeking more than 2 years of refunds?
It's been on an average of at least once a year. This year there's been 2 recent requests. One was last month in January and then this month. And that's why I thought maybe it'd be advantageous to, since usually you all approve my recommendation to refund up to that 4 years, I thought maybe we could just adopt the policy to allow me that authority. But whatever you are comfortable with, I am fine with. And Paul, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Well, this has just happened some in past history, and I think it will continue to happen some in the future. And I guess just our question is, does the board want to approve these type of things? But a lot of times they're relatively small dollars. And just with things that happen, people move. In this case, the business took over. There's changes going on all the time, and so I think we will have some of these in the future too.
Yeah, Tom DeSiren from Mill Creek here. I feel like this has come up a couple times recently. They do seem to be pretty small dollar amounts, and I'm not sure if we really need to go over that in every single meeting. It's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments on this?
Yeah, this is Cindy Sharkey from Sandy City. I've been a board member for 2 meetings and we've had this come up in 2 meetings, but it is It's a small dollar amount, right? So the magnitude of what we're talking about, what we've seen in these two meetings is kind of representative. We're talking in the hundreds of dollars at most. Is that right, Pam? Okay,
Yes,
so
yes, ma'am.
appreciate that. I'm fine with leaving these kind of things in Pam's hands. That would be my input.
Thank you. We did discuss this in a pre-board meeting, and I had kind of the same concerns that Scott did as far as just always have, you know, checks and balances in Pam, you know, they'll do a good job of making sure that the policy reflects that, just so that even though they're small amounts, it's just important to always have oversight on anytime there's any kind of financial things that we're adjusting. So I too am very supportive of moving this. I don't think, it's not even just bringing it to the board, but it just takes extra time out of staff time to bring an $82 issue to the board when I feel like they're very confident enough to make these decisions and move it along. Okay, thank you. To have your direction then, Pam.
Yes, thank you, and I will work with Rachel, our legal counsel, to make sure we get those steps in place and are labeled, and we'll bring it back to you in March for review and adoption if you're comfortable.
Perfect, thank you. Item number 6.4 is board adoption of resolution 4411, recognizing District Controller Treasurer Craig Adams for his service to the district. Do you want to kick this off, Pam?
Sure. Is Craig there in the room, I hope?
He is.
Okay, I'm gonna run down there real quick. Stand by.
While Pam's coming in, I'll tell the rest of the board that Craig told us this is round 2 for this retirement program. We'll hope round 2 works really great.
Know any good jokes, Sherry?
No, you don't want me to sing.
Craig, please come up. Come up here because it's really hard to see anybody in this camera. You would. Favorite thing. Last Friday, we had a retirement party here with our team to thank Craig for his years of service with us. He started in October 2012. When we were getting ready to separate, and he came on and was hired as an accountant and very overqualified for that position. And it turned out that that was a good thing because his position evolved rapidly with the taking on of billing and helped develop databases. And anyway, I every now and then I do these U-Rock gags for our team. And this is your very own. Thank you. I like to open it. That's up to you. But just want to say thank you so much for everything, forever in your debt, and thanks for your support through all those tough times. So let's give it.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be at Wasatch Front Waste Recycling. As previously mentioned, this is round 2 of my retirement. I actually worked for the power company for 30 years and retired from there and did not enjoy retirement. So it's different this time, and I'm looking forward to seeing what life brings for me next. But I very much enjoyed working with this organization, the leadership here, the board support. It's been a great organization to be a part to, and I look forward to the next chapter of my life. And I look forward to seeing what my predecessor, I mean, the personal song and Matt Ferguson, what he can do. He's young and aggressive and can bring a lot of things to the table that this old dog might run. So thank you for the opportunity to work here.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Pam. So we have a resolution for Craig. Do you want me to read the resolution?
If you want to.
It says, whereas the Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District is a special service district and political subdivision of the state of Utah, which was formed primarily for the purpose of providing waste and recycling services to residents within its service area. And whereas to the extent allowed by law, the district is governed by an administrative control board having authority as delegated by the Salt Lake County Council. And whereas Craig Adams was hired as the district accountant in September of 2012, and whereas Mr. Adams was appointed as the controller treasurer for the district on November 9th, 2015, and whereas Craig Adams has served the district and its residents faithfully and diligently through his employment with the district, and whereas since this honorable controller treasurer is retiring, the district wishes to express appreciation to Craig Adams for his years of dedicated service. Now therefore be it resolved by the board that Craig Adams is appreciated and recognized. So I will look for motion for approval for this resolution.
Scott Bracken from Cottonwood Heights, I'd move that we approve the resolution and thank Craig.
Dan Gibbons,
Bill
Hall
Carter
Bay, I
has one.
second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any, probably not opposed. Is there anybody that would like to make any comments on this resolution? Okay, other than just saying thanks, Craig, we really appreciate your service and how well this team functions, and it all is a component of a team, so thank you for being a part of that. Okay, we're gonna move to item 6.5, which is the vote. Did you guys forget a vote again? No, I did. You did. Sorry. Everyone was. I missed it, yes. 6.5, request to participate in the food waste collection pilot project. Kathy.
All right, so I introduced McKenna earlier, and she's there in the room, and then I mentioned the folks that are online to help to present this to you. Let me just give the brief overview, and then I'm going to turn this over to McKenna, and Sione's also online. Sione Tuane, excuse me, who is our sustainability manager. So we first presented the concept of a food waste pilot program. This is totally a pilot program. It's kind of in test mode, and we introduced this to the board on the June 28th board meeting. And just to recap, that the Wasatch Resource Recovery has received a grant to run some pilots and test out to see if residents are willing and able to participate in food waste collection at their curbside. So that's what this pilot project is about. I will just state that there's no harm in us participating in this. It is kind of a pilot, it's a test. And I'm going to have McKenna and Sione go ahead and run through some of this. McKenna, do you want to kick it off? You put together this wonderful presentation.
Yeah, so Wasatch Resource Recovery is looking to expand their services and offer residential food waste collection. And they, like Pam said, received a $60,000 grant to conduct 4 food waste pilots. The first one, Salt Lake City, actually just finished up in the beginning of this month, and that was run by Momentum Recycling. The other 2, Mapleton and Heber, are run by Recyclops, and Wasatch Resource is hoping that they'll begin their pilot within the next month. And then there's our service district, our staff, and Momentum kind of came together and decided that we'll offer this pilot in East Mill Creek, and Wasatch Resource is hoping that we'll begin that pilot in April of this year, and that will include 50 to 100 subscribers, and we will be capping that at 100 subscribers. And just a reminder, Wasatch Resource is in a compost facility, and they don't accept any type of yard waste. Yeah, you can go to the next one. So why is this important? 40% of food produced in America is being wasted. And as of February, Wasatch Resources' mission to divert food waste has led to over 735 million pounds of food waste diverted. And this is kind of important because by weight, food waste is the largest contributor to landfills. And food doesn't break down easily in landfills, and when it does eventually break down, it emits gases such as methane and ammonia was actually proven to contribute a lot to our winter inversions. So that's just something to think about. Wasatch Resource Recovery is also, their mission has also led to heating over 400,000 homes a day throughout Salt Lake County. So food waste collection is the next step for diverting waste from those landfills, promoting sustainability and creating a healthier environment for Utah and its residents. And we have an opportunity to test run it with no cost or risk. Next one. So a little bit more about the pilot. It's completely free for the first 50 to 100 residents who participate. And if the board does decide to move forward after the pilot, those residents won't have that startup fee. It will last 3 months, and collection will take place on Tuesdays in East Mill Creek and will be collected weekly. The pilot will be of no cost to Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District, and if there are any costs, we will be able to send some invoices to Wasatch Resource, and they will allocate some of that grant money to us. And each resident a part of the pilot will receive a 4-gallon bucket and a roll of 30 bio bags. And they will also be offered a small kitchen caddy. And they can get refills for those bio bags on Momentum Recycling. They also, sorry, Pam, they also don't need to use, they also don't need to use bio bags. They can just throw the food directly into the bucket, or they can purchase their own bio bags. Wasatch Resource just requests that no regular garbage bags are being used. Okay, so who does what? During the pilot, we will provide a customer list for East Mill Creek and will oversee all canvassing. And when the residents do decide they want to participate in the pilot, we will direct them to Momentum's website where they can sign up. And as mentioned before, the pilot will only accommodate 50 to 100 residents. Momentum Recycling will handle collection and hauling, customer service, program compliance, and marketing and education will be a joint effort with us, Wasatch Front Waste, and Momentum. And then Wasatch Resources offered to support us throughout the pilot and provide any assistance or data that we may need. We are also planning on taking some data with Momentum on set-out rate percentages, and Wasatch Resource also will provide us with some contamination rates as well. Okay, so some pros to this service, the obvious environmental benefits, diverting waste from landfills, which, as I mentioned before, reduces landfill gases, such as methane and ammonia. We're contributing to creating a clean energy source for power. We're also contributing to creating long-term soil health from the biofertilizer generated from the digesters and all that. This also aligns with Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District's mission and goals in providing integrated food waste collection services for our community. We'll also receive a percentage of monthly fees or a flat rate, and it is a low risk and cost service. Some cons is green waste versus food waste. A lot of the materials can go in both cans, both green waste and food waste cans, so it'll be a learning curve for residents, and some residents might not see a purpose to get a food waste bucket or can because they already have a green waste one. Additional monthly fees is also a con. This could potentially turn residents away from the service. Yeah. And then after the pilot concludes, we will be surveying the residents on their overall experience. We'll also look over that data from Momentum and Wasatch Resource. And upon your approval, residents a part of the pilot will have the option to continue food waste collection, and other residents will be allowed to sign up for that service. Our role will remain administrative, similar to our role with GLASS, and will receive a small portion of that monthly fee. We will be in charge of billing, we'll assist with marketing and education, and there is potential for purchasing and storing the cans. And Momentum will potentially offer that 16-gallon cart, that purple one, or that 4-gallon bucket. And they will obviously range in prices, and we can talk about that after the pilot as well. And yeah.
So yeah, the request is that we participate. And do you have questions about this concerns? I'm sure you have some thoughts as a board.
Okay, thanks, Tom, and thanks, McKenna. Does the board have questions and concerns about this? Will you share those now?
Yes, Scott Bracken with Cottonwood Heights. Do you have feedback from the Salt Lake? How many people did you get signed up there? And do you have any idea of what the average amount that they put into the program each week?
Yeah, so Jason Utgard is from Momentum Recycling, has his hand raised. Jason, do you want to field that question?
Yes. By the way, I have the bucket right here. I was going to try to do a little show and tell, but kind of have an idea of how big it is. And then the kitchen caddy that we've been talking about is about this big. It's a nice little kind of plain 2.5 gallon little caddy you can get to go on your kitchen counter to put your food waste in. So with the Salt Lake City pilot, we did the purple carts. We chose purple, by the way, because it didn't match what any other municipality is doing color-wise with their carts. We think that's important to kind of brand the program and so that help avoid contamination. That cart is about the same size, stature-wise, as the gray glass recycling cart, which is a 35-gallon. This one's a 16-gallon, so it's actually molded to only be about halfway as deep. But it is kind of from perception-wise, some people were looking at that thinking, I don't generate that much food waste. You know, my wife and I only generate whatever, or a small family. And so we did get a lot of feedback after the 100 customers that participated in our 3-month pilot said that they didn't actually find themselves putting it out every week. And they felt like they wanted a smaller size option at a lower price. And that's why we came out with, we're now offering both. We're doing the bucket and the cart. Overall, the bucket seems to be more popular. I'm actually, I would say of the carts that we sent out there, of the 100 carts, about 70 of them are coming back. About 20% of the people that were participated in the pilot, they decided that they didn't want to go forward with it. And it wasn't because they were not happy with the service. We had a 100% satisfaction rate with the service. It was either they were moving or they realized they did not generate enough food waste to actually justify having the cart or even the bucket. But now going forward, we have, I think probably about 150 or 170 residents that are now going forward with the service. We've added in additional ones in a select area. So that's kind of a real quick synopsis as to where we're at right now and what our plan is going forward with kind of the two services. If I had to make one suggestion, I would probably suggest that with this pilot, we only do the buckets. And I say that because I think we could get more people to participate, and more data is always a good thing, and more density on the route is always a good thing. And so I think if we could place buckets and maybe just stick to that, then it'd be a very straightforward pitch. You get a bucket, we're going to try it out for 3 months. You put it out every week on Tuesday or whatever the pickup day ends up being. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And then how are they picked? Is this a guy on the truck picking up the bucket and dumping it in type of a thing, or is?
Correct. Yeah, we have a few different trucks that we could use for this service. We have a rear load truck, which is very easy. They can just grab the bucket, take the lid off, and dump it in the back of the rear load truck. And they can dump in a whole bunch of buckets before they even have to run the truck to push it back inside. Or we have trucks that we use for our existing glass collection service that have, we can tip 2 carts, and then in the middle is a trough. They can also take the buckets and empty them into this trough, and so we can fill that up, and then once that is full, we can tip that into the truck. So there's a very nice crossover between the glass recycling trucks and the food waste recycling trucks. They can't obviously collect both at the same time, but when one's not on duty during glass, it can go out and do food waste.
Thank you.
Yep.
can answer Tom's question.
Yes, there's a question over to the side there.
Tom and Jason, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Residents will be directed to Momentum site to sign up for the pilot. That sound good, Jason? Okay.
That's correct. Yep. And in that way, it goes right into the exact same control center that Wasatch front staff already has access to. So they can see the signups coming in and see if they're an existing Glass customer that now also is part of the food waste pilot. They'll have access to all of the information that we have access to.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a question, Cindy Sharkey. It looks like you guys got a presentation on this before, so I apologize if my question's redundant. But I'm just curious, is this the type of fuel that this is producing? Is it gas? Is it liquid? What kind of fuel is it producing?
Elizabeth, do you want to field that?
Yeah, of course. So it's a renewable natural gas. So it can heat homes. It's a better energy worth for gas.
Okay.
That answers the question. It's a renewable natural gas.
It's
Cleaner.
a gas. And then there was also on one side, there was something about biofertilizer. So is that being produced as well?
So that's our end product. It's our biosolid. It's the product that comes out of the digesters once the gas is made. And it's a biosolid that we're now just giving to a local farmer that's doing some testing on it. Eventually, we hope that that would be something that we could bag and sell or just offer to the general public to come and pick up and use in their gardens or restaurants to use in their greenhouses or something like that. But right now, it's just something that we're still kind of fielding things and getting some tests back from a local farmer.
So this natural gas, circling back to that question, this natural gas that's being produced and used for heating right now, or potentially, that is not methane or ammonia based at all?
No, I mean, it's the methane that comes off of the food waste in the digesters that's captured, and then it's conditioned in our gas conditioning on the gas side of things, and then we're in the BP Dominion pipeline.
Okay.
So we sell to them. Does that answer your question?
It does. It really
Okay.
does. Thank you. Thanks.
Well,
for
and I will open it up just real fast. I mean, if any of you are curious about the whole process that we are doing out there, we're located in North Salt Lake, and I would encourage any and all of you to come out and have a tour and see the whole process. It's on such a larger scale than I can kind of capture here today, but it's very interesting and very educational.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that touring the facility would be really advantageous, especially once the pilot's over, if the board's making the decision on whether or not to move forward. It would be nice to just see the facility so we have, just a better understanding. Any other questions? Okay, if not, I need a motion. If we want to move forward in this pilot project, the board will need to motion and approve that. So can I get a motion for that?
Eric Barney for Magna. I motion that we move forward with the pilot.
Dan Gibbons, I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay, that is approved, and we'll go forward with the pilot on that. Thanks, McKenna, for your work on that and that presentation. Next is item 6.6, letter to the Salt Lake County Council about the reorganization. Sam.
Thank you. I mentioned that it would probably be beneficial to follow up with the council after their meeting on February 8th, just to thank them first off for their support and adopting that intent to reorganize resolution and moving forward to a public hearing that is scheduled for March 22nd at 4 p.m. I'm hoping that you as board members can attend either over the web or in person. I think that just shows more support. I thought I would also just talk about the fact that all the municipalities in the district have adopted resolutions to support this change and approve this change, which was done last year, just to solidify the fact that cities are on board with this change. So I kept it short and sweet, happy to modify in any way. And then, of course, it's from the board, signed by Sherry, our board chair, and copying Jenny Wilson's, the mayor's office.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Does anybody have any questions or input on this letter? Comments? Okay. Do we need a motion or anything on it? Okay. Well, I think that that's indicative that we're going to go ahead and move forward on this letter. I think it was crafted very well. I just think it's a great message to the county to have it spelled out clearly, you know, that the different entities here are very supportive of it. So, and to, again, like Pam said, thank them for moving forward on that. Okay.
Thank you.
6.7 general managers. Sorry, does someone have a comment?
I was just thanking you.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Pam. Okay, 6.7 general manager report, Pam.
During the January board meeting, we as staff were given 2 requests to come back this month with information. So that's what we have here. The first one is the question that was asked of, during 2021, did the subscription green waste program pay for itself? So Paul, I asked Paul to put together an analysis. Paul, could you kick it off from there?
Sure. On this, we were asked just does the green program pay for itself? And so the revenues are separated, and that's pretty easy to pull that $1,229,000. That's the revenues of the program. The program costs are really the direct costs of the program. And that could be labor, you know, the dumping, processing fees, those type of things, fuel, maintenance, those are direct costs. And then I also allocated costs from other support areas, such as carts, fleet, internal service, and G&A. Whenever you do allocations, there's always a question about how do you allocate, and you run into some challenges there. And so that number, I think if anything, it's a little high, but to answer the question, the green program does cover its costs, and it also covers the costs that help support that. And so that was the question, and the answer is yes, it does. So I don't know if there's any additional questions on that.
Okay, we will move on to the next one. Last month when I talked about the COVID paid leave, I mentioned the leave accruals that the district pays out for each employee and the annual amounts of sick leave and vacation. The question was posed, is that high? So one of the things, and I hope it's not TMI, but I wanted to put forth a little information about the employee benefits and the board's view on our benefits when we separated. The board basically said that they would not change any of our benefits that we took from Salt Lake County. We carried everything forward as far as an 80-20 split for health insurance, leave accruals we kept. At the point of separation, any employee that came on January 1, 2013 or later was not eligible for the other post-employment benefits. So that's what I have, a little overview of the other post-employment benefits. We carried that with us, so there were about 70 of us that were eligible for that benefit when we first separated. Over time, the board did want to review that particular benefit, and it was changed. So just an FYI, that was the only benefit that has been changed so far. And so any employee that retired before July 1, 2019 was eligible for that benefit. Anyone after that is not. So that's just an overview. During the board meeting, we as staff were asked to go back and compare our leave accruals with both government entities and then private companies that are within our industry. So that is what I've done here. I gave a little recap of what our benefit is for the sick leave, and then understanding that there's no cap to those accruals. Each employee receives 96 hours a year, and there is no cap. So we as employees can accumulate and have, thousands of hours. If an employee leaves, that is not cashed out. If an employee retires from the district, there is an allowable 25% of what is accumulated to go towards years of service with the URS. And if there's no questions on that, I'll move on to the vacation. As I mentioned last month, it's about 96 hours a year. There is a cap to that. An employee cannot carry over any more than 300. Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 320? Or actually,
Yes, that's correct.
yeah, thank you. So if somebody has use or lose at the end of the year, if they are not able to use it, like say they have 360 hours, they would lose that 40 hours, but they would keep their 320. So these are vacation accruals over the years, and it is based on number of years of service. And this is what we basically carried over from Salt Lake County. And when I get into the comparison with Salt Lake County, you'll see that it's pretty much matched what they have. So after the years 9 through 16, the number of hours are bumped up, and it's a total of 144 hours per year. After 17 years, then it bumps up and it's 192 hours per year. And if there's no questions on that, I will move on to some of the comparisons. The first one I did, of course, was Salt Lake County because that's where we came from and what we pretty much have carried on. You can see that sick leave is pretty much the same as what we have. And then the vacation is very similar to what we have as well. State of Utah, and I want to thank Matt for bringing this to me. He came from the state of Utah, so he was quick to provide this information for me. The sick leave is a little bit higher than what we have, and then the vacation is very similar. Salt Lake City, the sick leave is lower than what we have, but the thing that they have is anybody that's been there less than 6 months automatically has, up to 6 months, they have 40 hours already accumulated that they could use. That's different. So that's a little bit richer than what we have. And then the vacation is very similar, although that they're a little higher. Once somebody gets to 20 years, they get 200 hours. Taylorsville City, I thought I would pick a city in the district, excuse me. And what you can see there, they have a PTO system. All combined, it's very similar to what we have. Other than, I think that we're actually a little, if we combine everything, I think we might actually have a little more leave. And then the next ones are the privates. And I put private hauler A and B simply because I don't want to blow any trust that I have with private haulers and putting their information out there publicly. The first one really exceeds what we offer with the PTO. As you can see, those hours are quite higher. And the way they run this is for 12-hour days because their drivers, employees work 12-hour days. So this is based on overtime. Overtime's built in. Private hauler B is actually less than what we offer. And understanding that this particular private hauler has beefed up their leave. They didn't really have a lot previous to this year, so they've beefed that up to try to recruit and retain employees.
Pam, this is Scott from Cottonwood Heights. Those under private hauler A, those are a maximum amount. That's not how much you accrue per year. That would be the total amount you can carry. in your PTO, is that correct?
That is correct.
Do we have any idea what the accrual rates are for the first 5 years and the second 5?
What they have there. I mean, what they can take is pretty much what they accrue. So I don't know if, like I say, oh, I think I understand your point. So would that 720 hours carry over into the 5th and 10th
Oh,
year? So
no,
they'd
how
have
much do
more?
they get? How many hours do they get over a year?
720.
You have like 720 hours in a year is 6 months, almost 5 months off for the first year. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. If you want me to dig in deeper, I can.
Just like on B, you've got the vacation leave. It's at 40 hours a year, 80 hours a year. The 729.20 that doesn't make sense to me. But
Okay.
or anyway,
Do you want me to dig in deeper with private hauler A and come back next month, or?
well, I just the numbers didn't make sense. I mean, there's enough. You've got enough information here, but I just wanted to ask that. It was a little bit different than the others. So, and I'll honestly, B is what I'm more familiar with as far as how many hours of vacation you get each year. But then I've worked in private sector, so thanks.
You bet. Any other questions or comments? Unless I receive direction, I think we'll continue on with our accruals.
Okay. No one has any other questions for Pam. We just appreciate her work on that, and we'll move on to item 6.8, the timeline 2021 independent audit.
Yes, on this, just for those that aren't familiar with the district and kind of our timeline and plan, we have an outside audit firm come in every year and audit our financial statements. They were on site last week. This is a firm that we haven't used for, I think, 7 years. We used them before, but it's Squire and Company. And they were on site last week. We still have some information we're getting to them, and I'd say we're in the midst of the audit right now. They were on site and got a lot of the detail done, but we still need to work on a few items. As far as the timeline goes, we need to prepare the annual financial report, and then generally they present their report, and we have that information at the May board meeting. It is due at the state by 6:30. We need to have that information to the state, and we've usually done it at the May board meeting, and that's what we're on target for in our plan this year.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We'll move to item number 6.9, recycling and collections agreement expiration with the town of Alta. Town's request for a new agreement.
Yes,
You're gonna talk about this, Pam?
Yeah, thank you. So we've been providing recycling collections for the town for the past 10 years. We had a 10-year agreement that was in place when we were Salt Lake County Sanitation, and it carried over. That is about to expire in May. The town would like us to continue. I'm just asking for directions to go ahead and have a new agreement in place as long as we cover our costs. And that's what we've been doing, is a cost analysis. They will receive an increase. They have had increases over the years based on how much we charge per container. The way I would like to do it is look at actual costs and make sure that we build that in with a price escalation every year. To ensure, again, I want to make sure we cover our costs. So if you're comfortable with that, I can move forward and present them with what that will look like for them. And then next month come back with what it looks like and have you give me direction or approval at that time to move forward. So right now, I apologize. I'm just looking for your direction to proceed.
Okay, thanks, Pam, for that explanation. So we just need just an informal direction from this. So All those in favor of moving forward with the new agreement and having this brought back to us next month for approval, would you please say aye?
Aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Okay, Pam, if you can work on that agreement, we'll look forward to seeing that at our next meeting.
Thank you.
And we don't have a need, right? Okay, we don't have a need for a closed session today, so our last agenda item is number 8. Is there any other board business? Does anyone on the board have anything else for future meetings or any other comments they'd like to make at this time? Okay, you'll notice our number 9 is our requested items for the next board meeting on March 28th. Salt Lake County's decision resolution to reorganize over to a local district on March 22nd. Open and public meeting act training. Revised policy adoption 16.4 for the abatement or refund of charge services that we discussed today. A new agreement for the town of Alta, which we just discussed. And then 2021 customer satisfaction survey results and employee survey results. We'll have a report on that for all those survey results. So, with no other items on our agenda, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn. This is Scott from Cottonwood Heights.
Second
that. Yeah, Phil from White City.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks everyone for being here. Have a great rest of the